Hello YouTube, it is your boy B3 back with another kicking movie reaction review! Yeah, we recently have been reviewing lots of sci-fi movies. I've been specifically reviewing movies out of a 50-movie sci-fi set. But I kind of wanted to take a break from that set to do some more kaiju films, because I know y'all love kaiju films. The Gamera films that I did from that set got a good response. So I wanted to do Rebirth of Mothra. These have been on my review list for years, and I've just never gotten around to them. So today we are reviewing the first movie in the Rebirth of Mothra trilogy, Rebirth of Mothra. Now, these were a Heisei attempt at making some kaiju films to appeal to a more feminine audience, you know? Godzilla's not in them. They're all Mothra solo films, which I think is good. She really can carry a solo film very well, and she's real mystical, which is kind of different in the kaiju franchise, because most kaiju are real sci-fi movies, but these Rebirth of Mothra movies, while they are sci-fi movies, they're also really fantasy movies. They really are. She's a magical being. So in Rebirth of Mothra, it's got a big environmental message. You know, there's all this logging and stuff going on, lots of deforestation. And that deforestation disturbs this ancient seal keeping Death Ghidorah, aka Des Ghidorah, locked away. So this new type of Ghidorah. It is from space still, though. And Mothra comes to fight this Ghidorah. And spoiler alert, she does die, as Mothras often do, and she is replaced by her larva. Not the first time we've seen that happen to a Mothra. It's actually a really good death scene. The fight leading up to it is brutal. The fight between Mothra and her larva versus Death Ghidorah is just a brutal fight. They get creamed. They get creamed. It's insane how much they get their asses kicked. And the larva has to watch its mom drown. It's crazy. It's crazy. But then the larva goes on to find this forest of trees that are tens of thousands of years old, and it cocoons on these trees of life. And then they give it all this extra energy, so it doesn't just become a Mothra, it becomes Mothra Leo, a special green Mothra. And then it goes, fights Death Ghidorah, wins, and reseals it back into the earth. We also have human characters. The dad, there's this family of 4 that we follow. The dad is one of the people in charge of chopping down this forest. And by the end, he kind of learns the error of his ways. There's a mom who's always mad at the dad for working. I don't know what she's so mad at. You marry a Japanese man, and, you know, you're going to marry a workaholic 9 times out of 10. I know that's a stereotype, but still. And then there are these 2 kids, a boy and a girl, who just argue all the time. They really annoyed the crap out of me, to be completely honest. But then the whole family kind of learns to get along with each other by the end. Oh, God, they annoyed the crap out of me, though, those kids did. And then there's the dub. I haven't watched the whole thing subbed, but I have watched the whole thing dubbed. I watched a lot of it subbed before switching to dub, because I wanted to do another task while I was watching the film the first time, and then I just watched the dub for this review. But the sub does seem to be better. I'm not talking dialogue, I'm just talking like, because this movie got dubbed back when dubs weren't anything impressive. Now the dubbing for stuff is like great. Like if you watch The Promised Neverland dubbed, it's just as good as the sub. But you know, the acting in the original Japanese is much better than the acting in the dub. Plus, the kids' voices are very obviously adults playing kids. And it's like, come on now. Come on. You can do better than that. But I mean, the special effects are great. Both the digital effects and the practical effects are wonderful. I love the new Mothra Leo design. Death Ghidorah has a really cool design. This was a quadruped Ghidorah way before Kaiser Ghidorah. Years before Kaiser Ghidorah. So that's pretty impressive. The first quad Ghidorah. And you know what my favorite part about this movie is? The Mothra fairies. Our main characters, the main characters, are the fairies, the 2 fairies. And these fairies are far more interesting than any of the fairies in the Godzilla movies, and they're more interesting than the fairies in the original Mothra film as well. Because those fairies are a metaphor for balance, which is why they speak in unison, look the same, move the same, and all that stuff. It's because they're a metaphor for balance. But if you're going to have the fairies as the main character, they need to be a bit more interesting. So both fairies dress differently, look different, they have different personalities. One's a bit more stoic, and she kind of takes things not too seriously, but maybe a bit more seriously. And she's pretty cool. And then there's the other fairy who's a bit more emotional and doesn't think as logically as the other fairy. And then there's actually a third fairy who is the main antagonist of the trilogy. She was trying to control Desghidorah, and she's quote-unquote evil, and she's the eldest sister, but she's not really evil. She's more of an anti-hero. She's like, humans are going to be the death of this world and the death of us fairies, so I need to awaken Desghidorah and control it with the Elias seal so that humans can be stopped. So she's more of an anti-hero. She and Batra have a lot in common. Let's say that. If you've seen that movie, she and Batra have a lot in common. But it's honestly, it's a very fun ride. It's a very fun ride. If you're a kaiju fan, this is great. If you're actually new to kaiju movies, this is a pretty good one to watch, I think. Especially if you're a woman. Because once again, these were targeted towards a female audience. So if you're trying to get your girlfriend or your sister or a female friend or somebody into kaiju, this might be a good place to start with them. But that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. And check out all the cool links in the description below. Facebook, Twitter, etc. The next movie review will probably be just Rebirth of Mothra 2. Unless I see something interesting in the meantime or feel like watching Teenagers from Outer Space. Because in my Santa Claus Conquers the Martian review, I said Teenagers from Outer Space would probably be the next one. But I took a break from it to watch some anime and also some kaiju stuff. But we'll get back to those cheesy sci-fi movie reviews soon. So that's it. Thank you all very much for your support. Remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. I already said all that. Support us on Patreon. I'll see y'all later.